#1 rated pregame, intermission, postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, west of the 51st state Greenland, south of the 52nd state Canada. And we're going to have a guy here in a little bit who has a lot of questions to answer. A man who executed not one, not two, but 3 trades on trade deadline day. Flyers GM Danny Brier will be here, but really the esteemed guest of honor this pregame is none other than Jackie Spiegel. Jackie, hello, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
It's good to have you, Jackie. And what most people need to know is you were supposed to be our guest on Tuesday night.
I was.
And you were here.
I was.
On time, ready to do early. And we found out last minute that Bundy wasn't doing radio that night because the game was on 93.3 instead of on 97.5. And it was like, oh, well, we don't need Jackie now. And Jackie was like,
we always need Jackie.
Jackie was like so bummed. Like she was like mad at us.
I mean, I have to get like the makeup done, the hair. It's not like this is an easy thing.
Yeah. So then I called her tonight. So I texted her earlier and said, hey, you still good for today? She's like, yeah, I'm still good. And then we found out that Danny's coming on the show, and I could call her back and said, hey, guess what? Brier's coming on pregame. She's like, am I losing my spot to Danny? And I'm like, no, you're not.
I will point out that usually Danny is early, so I'm wondering if he's afraid of Jackie. Jackie, have you had a bad run-in with Danny in the past?
Not that I can recall, but, you know, we do ask tough questions a lot of times.
Tough questions. Tough questions down in the Flyers media.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Before he gets here, let's get your thoughts on yesterday as a whole for the Flyers. They trade Scott Lawton, they trade Andrei Kuzmenko, and in a somewhat missed thing, kind of overshadowed, although in fairness, you understand why, Erik Johnson also traded. Your thoughts?
I thought it was a good day, to be honest with you. I think when you're talking about rebuilding and you're talking about moving forward, not that you want to lose a Scott Lawton and or an Erik Johnson at this point because of what he brings to the room, but it kind of sends the signal that this is a team that's moving forward and moving in a new direction. And I think it was a day that even before I got here, it was a day that was coming with Scott Lawton. It's been years that his name has been rumored,
it's been like
right?
2 years that he's been.
So I think, yeah, it as much as people want to complain, whatever production, he was the heart and soul of the team. I said that in an article, yesterday when I wrote the trade grade, which I gave it a B+ just for trading Scott Lawton.
Yeah.
And part of that was also because of, sending him back sending him home, which I thought was a great move by Briere. Showed a lot about what he meant to this organization by making that move, and what they got in return. Obviously, the #1 pick was the #1 thing in that deal.
Yeah.
So to me, it was a good day, and he sent Erik Johnson basically home too, right? Colorado. Right. I mean, we were in Colorado beginning of February, and they were. How many times do you see an opposing team player being put on the jumbotron during warmups?
Yeah.
So
what did they call him? The Condor? Is that what I saw on Twitter yesterday?
Yeah.
They were like, "Welcome back, Condor." Big old bird.
Your impressions
might not sound just like
spot
that.
on. Spot on.
I'm pretty sure they called him the Condor, and I want to know why. Because I don't remember anybody talking about him being a Condor here.
Never heard it.
Yeah. Jackie, here's the thing that blows my mind every year, and I feel like I say this every year, but I can't get past it. Why teams in the NHL pay the rich prices that they pay for these players? I mean, look, I think Scott Lawton is a very nice addition for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's going to do a lot of good things for them, even things that are probably not visual if you're watching the game on TV or measurable in the statistical department. And yet, I don't think he's worth a first-round pick, and they got one. So, like, to me, it's crazy. And then you look at the other trades in around the league, and it's like, oh my, Tampa giving up 2 first-round picks for Yanni Gourde and Oliver Bjorkstrand. Like, it's fascinating to me that these teams are just willing to throw away these important assets for players that are more role players than they are stars.
Well, I think there's two things. Actually, one thing came to mind while you were asking your question, Anthony. But like, one of them is maybe how many times have we seen teams win the Stanley Cup when it's not homegrown guys?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how many guys in the Carter Gauthier draft in that top 10 have already moved on to other teams? I think Florida is one of those teams that's maybe had 5 guys on their roster that were homegrown, maybe if that much. So I think we're seeing maybe a shift in the NHL in that regard.
Player empowerment. We're going to start getting big threes.
Here we go.
Well,
The NHL becoming the NBA. Anthony SanFilippo's worst nightmare is upon us. Jackie Spiegel put it out there first.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be that, but I think teams are starting to realize maybe it's not drafting that really helps build an entire franchise. Like Matvei Michkov is one guy on the team, right?
Yep.
I remember watching. What was it, the NHL Awards years ago when Eric Lindros won the Hart Trophy, and I think it was the same year that the Flyers went to the final.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm sorry I couldn't do it, but he's only one player. And so maybe that's part of it. I also think there's more to players that you see than what you see on the ice. And I think, Yanni Gourde is someone obviously they knew in Tampa. Riley Smith was someone they knew in Vegas. Scott Lawton is someone that Craig Berube knew from when he was the coach here.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it than just points that someone puts on the ice. Scott Lawton is someone who can really, as he did here, be the glue guy for that team, I think. So...
Oh, here he comes.
Here he comes.
Here he comes.
The man of the hour. The man of the hour is coming.
Some are calling him the man of the Brie era. I don't know.
Yeah, here we go. Or you can just walk around,
There
Joe.
we go.
Joe, you don't need to. Yeah, that's a much easier way to do it.
Security kerfuffle here.
Good to see you.
Hey guys.
Welcome in. How are you? Good to see you. All right.
You're going to need the headphones to hear us. Yeah.
We now welcome to the show. I don't know how many times it's been. It's been a few times that he's now been on the show. But the GM of your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers, Danny Brier.
Hey guys.
Hey, nothing big's going on. Nothing big's happening.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Santa Claus the day after Christmas today? Is it like you wish you could sleep in after what you went through yesterday?
Well, I slept like a baby last night, that's for sure. I got home last night and I crashed. I tried to get on my phone and start looking at things and I couldn't even keep up. I had to kind of do an overview of the trades this morning.
And your overview is things are still pretty good. Like you're pretty happy with where things are, right?
We're excited.
Yeah.
With the returns. There's always that knot in your stomach because we lost some good people, and we traded some players that had a big impact here over the years. In Scott Lawton and even Eric Johnson was here for a short time, but his impact in the locker room and in that short time is something that is scary to lose.
We're going to go through them, each trade with you real quick. Obviously, the big one is the Scott Lawton deal. You had a number of teams that were checking in on him throughout several weeks. But even up until the deadline yesterday, you had a number of teams checking in.
Yeah.
What was it about Toronto? Was it really the best deal, or was it a combination of it's a really good deal for us and we want to do right by Scotty and get him to his hometown?
Well, first and foremost, it was the best deal.
Yeah.
And we knew that Toronto, and they had early on told us that they were really interested in Scott. But I told them, I said, we're going to be looking for certain demands here that you're going to have to meet, and they said they would, but you never know for sure until it happens.
Right.
And as we saw the market go and the centermen go and the forwards go, it just gave us more and more power.
Right. Leverage.
And that's why we were patient, but it was scary. There's a time where you're like, okay, how long do we push this off? How long do we hold it off? On a personal side, we were hoping that Toronto would work out with everything that the Lawton's family had to go through this season to send him home. That was, icing on top of it, to send a player that you really respect in a place that he wants to go. That was the icing. But it wasn't the reason why we made that trade.
They're not the same player, obviously, but between Lawton and like a Rantanen and a Nelson, like once those names were getting floated out there, I mean, we were surprised that Rantanen was available at all before the deadline. That face kind of tells me you're a little bit surprised as well.
Yep.
I don't know if it was necessarily a thing where you're waiting for that trade to kind of set the market. The Nelson thing felt like that. If that had gone on longer, maybe that makes your day yesterday a little bit more complicated. Would you agree with that? Or
yes, and I would agree. So what I would say is that on Wednesday and Thursday, Rantanen was holding everything in the market. Everybody wanted to see the top teams. I shouldn't say everybody. The top teams were waiting to see what was happening with him. Then they got a sense of, okay, this is what's going to happen with Rantanen. But now all of a sudden, the Islanders can't re-sign Nelson. Now Nelson's up, and teams are holding for him now. They see if they can get in to him. So we were hostage of those two players mostly. Rantanen Wednesday, Thursday, Nelson yesterday morning until those trades started going off the book. Then it loosened up, and we started getting more and more calls because there's a lot of teams left now without the big forwards that they were looking for.
An interesting thing for me, Danny, with Scott. I mean, I know over the last couple of years teams were asking about him, and you were reluctant to move him. At some point in that time, did you ever have an offer similar to what you ultimately settled for yesterday and decided maybe it just wasn't the right time? Or was this ultimately you just being patient, knowing that when the right time came, you would get the right offer?
It's a little bit of everything.
Okay.
We got similar offers, not quite as good before. Because of everything coming together yesterday, and the market being good for the sellers,
right?
Running out of forwards out there, so that was that. I think that gave us the chance to get the prospect on top of it. So that was great. But at the same time, the timing, Scott. We talked about rebuilding our culture. He was a big part of that,
right?
And he's going to leave, his footprint, hopefully for years to come. What he did with our young guys, and the professionalism that he showed with our young guys the last couple of years was important to have around.
It was an interesting. The other two moves that you made, they're not really under the radar. The Eric Johnson one was right. It was one that kind of came in at the last minute. He goes back to a team that he spent.
That was more of a favor
years.
for Eric. Yeah.
Well, so how important is that? Because in the grand scheme of things, right? Like if you look at this, and I view it from the perspective of like, I don't know, agents, players, free agents in the future. You sent Scott Laughton home, got a great return for him, but he got sent home. Eric Johnson got sent back last minute, favor, like doing the right thing. He now has a chance to either play or to help mentor a team that has a legitimate chance at a cup. How much of the decision-making process is, doing right by a guy you knew that was kind of the end of the line here for Eric Johnson? Like, how important is the human element to making those trades as much as the return?
Hopefully it helps down the road, but it's not the reason why we did it. It was to really help Eric. He's been such a good soldier, not playing, mentoring the young guys, going out of his way to keep things light around the locker room, promoting the Flyers brand everywhere he goes. And he told me, he says, look, the only place I'd really like to go to get a shot at is going back home to Colorado. If that doesn't work, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be here. I'll do whatever you want. I'll even come back next year, help your young guys, So, when Colorado called and we started discussing it, it's something I was reluctant to do, but the more I thought about it and how good of a soldier Eric had been with us, and, at the end of the day, you're right. It might give us, we talk about treating our players right, our people right in this organization. We felt that was just the right thing to do for him.
Now, in the case of Kuzmenko, you got a very brief window to kind of check out the player. Honestly, going into the deadline, you had to evaluate all options. Did you think that a third would ultimately be on the table for him? Because, we kind of said, like, if you don't intend on maybe signing the extension now, you leave the door open for the offseason. We were kind of like, a fifth-round pick would be swell. I'll be honest, I thought that was pretty solid return. Maybe it's the seller's market.
That was part of it, too. Every time I talked to teams and they were asking, up front, what are you doing? What do you have? We'd always say, well, there's Kuzmenko if you're looking for, a cheap return that you don't want to overspend on. And I think that's what happened yesterday morning. I think the Kings kind of struck out on a few other options before, and I got the call out of the blue, and we started discussing. And, you could tell they wanted to make a deal. They need him. I think it's a good addition. They're struggling on the power play.
Yeah.
That's the one area that he really helped us in in this short stint. And that one just made too much sense to go by. And that happened quick.
I have one last one in.
Go ahead, Russ.
Were there any players that you fielded calls on that you might not have expected that you weren't going to trade yesterday, but you start thinking about it's planting seeds. Those conversations are always planting seeds for the offseason. Did you get any intriguing calls that you're like, huh? Wasn't
Yes.
thinking that, but maybe.
Yes. There's always calls out of the blue that they mention players, and you take notes, the players that they like. And I think it goes both ways. You know, we made some calls on certain players just to ask where they stand, are they moving. So it goes both ways. But yeah, we took a lot of notes. You know, you kind of realize it's a good day to get information on what type of players teams like and are kind of geared towards. So absolutely, we were able to gather some good information.
You got a question, Jackie?
Can I just ask one?
Just one, Jackie. Go ahead. Just one.
I was just curious with Kuzmenko, is there any thought of bringing him back in the offseason since he is a UFA? And I know John Tortorella spoke highly of him on Thursday.
Yeah, there's an outside chance, I would say. He left a good impression. He was a good teammate. He helped us on the power play. You know, we only got 5 games, I believe, or 7 games? 5?
I think it was 7.
7 out of them. So 5 points. You know, and he did well. You know, he could be an interesting player but we're not going to overspend. You know, he's not going to be in the same market that he is now. So it depends where they feel, and it depends how he plays too. He's going to LA. You know, if he has a run in the playoffs and he does well, he might be back up, you know, higher than we're probably willing to go.
Yep.
So we'll see in the offseason.
I have to ask you one question about the team that's on the ice today, and in fact, a guy that's not on the ice today, and that's Cam York. Obviously, it's a coach's decision to do that, but I just want to kind of, you know, see where you're at with him at this point, because, you know, this is a couple times this year where he's been that Torts has sat him. Like, I know he's not had as good a year as he had a year ago, but, you know, where are you at with Cam at this point?
But Cam, yeah, you're right. You know, Cam took a huge step forward last year, and maybe the expectation towards him went up a little too quick, too high.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a little bit more trying for him this season, but you know that's part of the development of a young defenseman. You're going to have ups and downs along the way. I'm not too worried about Cam York. I think he's strong enough mentally. He's already been through a lot. If you remember, 2 years ago, he was sent down to the minors early. He wasn't happy about that, and was one of the best things that happened to him. So I think he's equipped to deal with adversity. So I really believe strongly in Cam York. You know, but he just hasn't played to the level that the expectations are at with him.
And that's fair.
Season.
Before you head out, there's something I have to bring up in the comments. It's an apology from a fan. It has nothing to do with you as a player, you as an executive. Kyle Adams checks in over on YouTube and says, I want to take this moment to formally apologize to Danny B. He came to the movie theater I worked at years ago, and I geeked out on him so bad, I forgot half the concessions he ordered. So,
bring back some memories. That's great.
So Kyle, it's been passed along.
There you go. That's good stuff.
The most interactive pregame show this side of the
I think you're forgiven. I think Danny forgives you for that. Right? Well, Danny, thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate it, especially after such a busy day yesterday.
Thank you, guys.
Get some rest, because we're going to have a lot to talk about as we approach the off season.
Sounds good.
Pretty
Thanks
big
for the support,
offseason.
guys. Oh yeah, it's another big one. Yeah,
Good,
coming up.
good stuff. Thanks, Danny.
Guys.
Thank you.
Danny Brier, Flyers general manager, joins us here for the pregame show.
How about that?
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Danny.
I mean, listen, when an eventful trade deadline goes down, what is better than having the man who made the decisions on the pregame show?
Yeah, that was good stuff.
You don't get that everywhere else.
And I got to say this to Jackie Spiegel. Not every reporter has that separate access. All those other guys sitting over there, they don't know what they're going for, and you're sitting over here getting some good information that you maybe didn't get yesterday. Because we tried not to ask the same questions that you guys asked yesterday. We tried to do something a little bit different.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you get a little bit extra.
And the Kuzmenko information is definitely new.
See that? So
and
you got another.
So maybe it's not a bad thing that I wasn't on the show the other day.
See that?
See, it all works out.
It all works out for. And I'll give you
went
another
full
one.
circle.
I'll give you another one for your, just a little tell you that you guys didn't get yesterday. Danny kind of admitting that he had a similar offer for Lawton in the past and didn't take it.
I wonder where that idea for the question came from.
There's
Somebody stole someone else's notes.
there's a lot there when it comes to Lawton that I don't think people realize.
Yeah.
And I think Tuesday was a weird game. I think, I don't know about you guys, but in my mind, maybe Tuesday was their reaction to seeing Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee on the other side of the ice.
Yeah.
And then I think Thursday was a lot of it was that it was potentially because that might have been Scott Lawn's, and it was, but going into it, it was might have been Scott Lawn's game. And I didn't see it, but somebody else in the press box told me that when he was announced in the starting lineup, and everyone cheered, he got like connecting, like patted him on the shoulder kind of thing. Like he looked like he was a little upset. Like I think that says a lot about who Scott Lawton is, and he really did. As much as people want to criticize the on-ice stuff, I mean, he gave his heart and his soul to this team. Hands down. And I've only been here, not even 2 full years, calendar years, whatever, and I saw that in my short time.
And I'll tell you what, I got to give Torts a lot of credit for that game too.
Comment.
Well, not just the comment, not just saying that he's a friend. I mean, that's a great comment. But Torts had been starting Noah Cates' line every game.
Yes.
And Thursday night, he started Scott Lawton.
It was a really, and not that Ristolainen was necessarily getting traded, but he was also on the defensive pairing on the starting lineup.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really nice nod, especially so that he could get that cheer from the fans.
I agree. And that's something that probably gets lost in the shuffle a little bit.
Yeah.
But that means a lot to the player. And I think Russ's question was a really good one because it really does give them a little money in the bank when it comes to
a little social equity.
Yeah, a little social equity when it comes to future players. And say, look at how they treated this guy. Look at how they treated this guy there. That's good. If I ever want to go play there, that's good to know.
Yeah, and you see some other GMs who, I think we all know the picture with the sword in the back of Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah.
Like, there's things that have happened with other organizations that probably give. I'm not saying the winning obviously in Vegas probably
makes things a little bit
sways things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a couple of things that kind of do, and also Eric Johnson going to Colorado.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing also that players look at and go, and there's always been the talk. Obviously none of us ever see that side of things, but there's always the talk about how well the organization treats the players. And I think this is actually a forward-facing moment for that, to see how well they do treat the players.
Yeah.
I was doing my show yesterday. I started it at 3 o'clock yesterday just to try to capture those late trades that came across. And while I was on air, the Brad Marchand trade went through.
Yeah.
And I was stunned because we knew that there was a possibility that Boston was going to move off him.
Yeah.
But the return was virtually nothing, and they send him to
a rival.
And listen, I know Boston's having a down year, but I wasn't prepared to then look at Boston and say, well, it's over for them, right? I know that they've been kind of trending in that direction, but Boston's a place that, things can turn pretty quickly, and you start to become a contending team again. I'm shocked that they sent him to Florida.
I think, I don't know. Is he a UFA at the end of the year? Okay, so that's obviously as a rental, right?
Yeah.
And potentially he could re-sign back in Boston.
Yeah.
Maybe it's saying hey, let's give him another chance at a cup because we're not that team anymore, right? Or right now we're not trending in that direction to be a team that can contend for the cup like we were in years past. I think it's a nice little nod. Can you imagine him and Sam Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk on the same line? Sam Bennett.
Rat line.
There were some. I have to be honest. Twitter is unmatched sometimes in some of these things that I have seen, where they showed a picture, the first picture of Brad Marchand in a Panthers jersey, and it was the rat, like the mascot.
Yeah.
It's unmatched, but it was interesting. This was not an option for them. I saw someone post something about how I can't believe he went there for that. Danny Brier sure looked into. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Well, this is actually the thing that I found the most intriguing from Danny being here.
What's that?
Danny did not admit this. We have not sourced this to find out. I'd almost guarantee you that they checked in on Rantanen. The way that when I asked about
Florida or Boston?
No. That Briere and this team might have checked in on a guy like a Rantanen or a Rantanen level, because my question was more about did you get calls on anybody that you didn't expect? Fair. But then he said it goes both ways, and there was a smirk. And what we know for a fact is that, I'm very confident in they're going to try to do something in free agency or in the trade market this offseason. This will not be a bottom 5, bottom 10 team next year. They will, come hell or high water, they're going to get somebody, or they're going to make every effort. To me, if I were a fan out there, thinking about, do we have to go through this again next year? Do we have to look at hockey purgatory again? Methinks, based on that response and him saying it goes both ways, this could be a big old shocking off-season kind of move where you have all that draft capital and some players on this team that are getting the interest of other teams. There might be a big swing coming. I don't know.
Based on conversations I've had in the organization, it wouldn't surprise me also if they checked in on Rantanen. But I also think every team checked in on Rantanen because of, the fact that he was not, or maybe not every, let's say 30 out of the 32.
Well, here's the thing.
But Danny Brier has mentioned how many times he's going big game hunting at some point.
Yep.
And when I did talk to him for a Q&A for the Inquirer in February, 27th, 28th, in Pittsburgh, he did say that it wouldn't be at the deadline, and he hinted that it would be more looking towards the off season.
Yeah.
And I will say that they are stockpiling, and I think what he also said yesterday in his post-trade deadline presser is that, those number one picks are valuable.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a big tell too, because if you did notice, like you said, Yanni Gord went for Yanni Gord and Bjorkstrand went for number ones, two number ones.
Yeah.
Rantanen went for two number ones
and 2 number 3s. So that's the thing. So it's interesting that Russ brings that up. So let's just look at it just for a second. Could the Flyers have offered what Dallas offered to get Rantanen, and do you give him 8 years, $96 million?
The question is whether or not he would have signed here, right? I think that was the big issue in Carolina, was that he didn't. And Carolina does play a similar style to Philly. So
and here's another thing about Texas that's worth noting.
The
taxes.
Taxes, yeah.
He doesn't have to pay as much in taxes. Now, the Flyers have a break. We've talked about this before, in that they practice in New Jersey, so you do not have to pay city wage tax to play in Philadelphia except for on game day. So the money you make on game day, you pay city wage tax.
But what if you live in Philly? I will be honest, I actually just talked to a tax guy because I have to do my taxes, and I'm obviously new to. This is the first time I'm filing out full Pennsylvania.
But she's done her taxes before IRS.
Yes, every single year I've done my taxes. My dad's a CPA, and he would not allow me not to do one. So.
No, so I believe, and maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. If you live in the city but you work out of the city, you do pay a smaller tax because you're not working in the city, but you still have to pay a city tax.
I don't know.
But it's not the same rate as if you work in the city.
I don't know.
I think that's how it works.
We need to get a CPA on.
But it is the tax stuff matters, and that's why Florida, Tampa, Dallas, those are attractive places, and Canada and Calgary and California are not. And who was it that was? I was watching one of the shows yesterday who said that somebody had a deal that they could not be traded to Canada.
Oh.
Any Canadian team.
Wow. Is it an American player? Because I feel like American, like a lot of players want to play closer to home. It's easier travel. Air Canada's terrible.
It might have been Brock Nelson.
Well, he's American.
Yeah, but it might have been Brock Nelson.
He's upset that they've been booing the anthem up there.
I'm trying to remember who it was that they were talking about.
In Canada.
It was a bigger name. It was a bigger name player that they didn't want to get traded to Canada. Maybe it was Rantanen.
Well, you do get paid in American dollars.
You do, but you get the taxes up there are ridiculous.
Are they? I don't know.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
But if they become the 51st state, the taxes are the same. It doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, exactly.
We just had to get that in there. Okay.
All right. While we have Jackie here,
yes.
because I know she was going through it too, Russ, I think we should talk about our little scientific experiment.
Oh, yeah. So Ant and I were both on 95 within probably a mile of each other.
Okay.
So we decided to do a long-held science experiment with traffic. So I got off at exit 17 onto the ramp.
Which
on
is
95. I don't take 95 very often, to be honest.
So 95, exit 17 gets you right to the
So that's the Broad Street exit. It's the Broad Street exit.
Got it.
But then there's exit 19 where you essentially take 95 past the arenas and you come out on the back
Wait,
side.
Do you want me to give away my
no, don't do it yet.
Yeah.
So we were
so
pretty
exit
close.
19, so people know exit 19 is the exit you would normally take if you're going to New Jersey to go over the Walt Whitman Bridge.
Yes.
But you can also end up on Packer Avenue back there.
I actually did this the other day.
Yeah.
So I was halfway down the ramp on exit 17.
You were coming to a game.
And it wasn't moving.
This is this morning.
It wasn't moving very much. Ant passed me going on 95. And we can definitively say that the exit 19 is the faster way to go.
By about 5 minutes.
Assuming that you get stuck on the ramp. And what ended up happening was, once I finally got down far enough, I realized there was a bunch of dumb jamokes that were in the right lane that were trying to get to that first entrance into Wells Fargo
I've
Center.
had that issue
And so
before, too,
I skirted past them.
And then they think you're like trying to cut the line, but all you want to do is go to the left.
The entire left lane was open. I was like, what are you people doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Anyway.
No.
So yeah, I got in
Science.
5 minutes faster going the Packer Avenue route.
I come from a different direction off of 76, and I actually started avoiding, I don't know what exit number it is, but the one where it has the weird turn where you have to go like 10 miles an hour so you don't crash into the, off of 76, going towards Pennsylvania. It's a very sharp turn off or whatever. Anyway, but I started going further to Packer Ave and then cutting around like,
I know
like the Citizens Bank.
Are you talking about the Island Avenue exit?
No, that's too far.
No, I don't think so.
That's the one that's up farther on 95.
Yeah, that's too far.
But there's like a weird kind of, okay.
There's like a sharp turn where if you don't slow down, it could be bad.
Yeah.
But but I started avoiding like Broad Street completely. I think it's Broad Street, right? The big one?
Avoid Broad Street.
You're getting there. You know, pretty good for a Staten Island girl.
Oh my God. stop. Brooklyn.
I'm actually going to be up in New York next week.
Oh yeah.
That's some work stuff going on. I'm going to be in Manhattan, the best of the boroughs.
I used to live in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. For a long time.
I'm going to be down at a conference, very south Manhattan.
I used to live in South Street area.
Really?
Yeah. If you need any tips, let me know.
I might actually hit for some tips.
Near Wall Street? Yeah.
I gotta find yep. I have to figure out a good restaurant.
Oh, I got some good ones.
All right, so we're gonna chat
All right.
We're gonna chat off air. Now is the time of the show though, where we have to get our predictions in. Now, Bundissimo was here, and then he went that way, so we'll get his
Wait,
prediction.
do I get to do a prediction?
Well,
Go ahead.
You could certainly do a prediction. Go ahead.
Okay, wait. Actually, you guys go first because I feel pressure. I feel pressure now. All right, I'll say 3-2 Flyers.
I was gonna say, you need to pick a team. 3-2 Flyers. Anthony?
I'm torn on this one because part of me thinks that Seattle playing at 12:30 on the East is 9:30 in the morning in their body clock, and this is only the second game of their road trip, and they were in Nashville before.
I should have done research.
Yeah, but I also worry a little
better
bit.
when you don't.
I worry a little bit about the Flyers putting three minor league players into the lineup that weren't in here the other night. So I'm gonna pick the Kraken in this one.
Wow.
I am. And
you don't think those guys will spark the team a little bit? And I thought Abel's played pretty well when he was here.
Yeah, okay.
And Emil.
That's great. I'm gonna go.
Wow, he just shot that down.
I'm gonna go Kraken 4-3.
I gotta be honest. The loss of Scott Lawton and Eric Johnson, this is gonna be akin to the Walker trade last year, baby.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know what Torts thinks about the Panzers, right? Or the Panzers. What is it, Panzer?
What's a Panzer?
Panzer was the tank, right? In World War II? Wasn't it called a Panzer? You're supposed to know things. You were alive for World War II. How the hell don't you know?
Yes, a Panzer is a tank.
Thank you.
Yes.
A Panzer.
I was reading comments.
I don't know if Torts is a big Panzer fan, but that boy better learn how to drive a tank, because that's where this is going right now. No, it's not actually going to, is it? No.
I don't think that man has the word tank in his vocabulary.
He knows what a tank is. He does. Flyers.
We need your
lose.
pick.
I think Kraken walk away with a 4-2 win.
There's Bundy. Camera.
Bundy, prediction.
Flyers got to win something at home. I'm going to go Flyers today 4-3.
4-3. Okay.
That's a close game, right?
We will be.
Did you get Andrew's pick?
Intern. 4-2 Flyers.
All right.
I don't remember any of this. I have to put it in the tweet.
All right.
We'll be back. First intermission, second intermission, and postgame here on the Press Row Show. for God's sakes. Hello, welcome into the Press Row Show, the number one rated pregame, intermission, postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, west of the 51st state, Greenland, south of the 52nd state, Canada. And we are joined by none other than number 6 in your program, number 1 in our hearts. Bundy is here. Everybody give it up. Stick taps for Bundy. Stick taps on the desk, Anthony. On the desk, Anthony.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Good to be here.
Happy to have
good
you
to have you here, Bundy.
Great to be here.
We got to figure out how to talk a bit for the next 16 minutes about what we just watched.
An ugly period capped off by an ugly goal.
Still a 1-0 Flyers lead. Owen Tippett got the puck, came down, tried to put a puck to the front of the net, and it caromed off the Seattle player right back into the chest area of Owen Tippett, and it went right behind the Seattle goalie. It was a weird goal without a shot really being taken, right, Andy?
Yeah, nobody took a shot. Like, I don't even think Tippett got the pass off. I think that he was trying to protect the puck a little bit, and it hit the defenseman's stick, and it rolled up the stick, and then hit off of his Tippett's chest and went behind Grubauer. So, kind of a strange goal for a strange period. Both teams hit the pipe a couple times. Tyson Forster had an incredibly wide open net and missed it.
That was the second wide open net that was missed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There were 2 in that period.
And then there were the Flyers, what you like to call the Rocky Thompson horror show.
Yes.
0 for 3 that period.
Seattle rang the bar 3 times?
Twice.
Yeah.
And the Flyers
Couturier
once.
hit the post.
Yes.
In the other end. All right, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's just a weird game. The first of a back-to-back that the Flyers have in this arena.
Yeah.
As we've been talking about, 7 games in 11 days. We are now on game number 3.
3.
You and I were on the phone pregame, and I said, hey, Ant, we're already on game number 4.
Yeah, I was like, no, we're not. I wish we were, but we're not. We're only on 3.
Game 3. I see people complaining in the comment section, by the way, that apparently the ESPN audio and video seem out of sync.
Big surprise.
And people saying that, believe it or not, that is a thing that they've noticed a lot. So we had Danny Brier on pregame. Do we want to talk about that at all?
We can. The one thing I wanted to kind of get Bundy's take. I mean, you know, Danny gave us some good stuff and about the trades yesterday, which is awesome. And I also want to hear Bundy's thoughts on the trades. But the one thing I want to start with is Cam York, because I felt like that was kind of the more intriguing conversation that's new to today. Because, you know, Danny talking about the trades is fine. You know, that happened yesterday. But Cam York was a healthy scratch tonight. And Danny basically said that, you know, hey, he's not worried about Cam York long term, but he's just not meeting his expectation level for the season. And there have been times during the year where he needs to come out of the lineup, and this happens to be yet another one.
Yeah.
And I start to, you know, we've criticized the coach in the past about, you know, pulling guys out of the lineup at unique times. You know, sometimes it's performative, but sometimes it's deserved. And the question is that, you know, you want to give Emil Andre a run here for the rest of the season, and I get that. But should that come at the expense of Cam York, or should a guy like Zamula maybe be your 7th defenseman?
Yeah, that's a good question. And again, I think it comes down to what are they trying to achieve? Are they, the easy move would be to take Zamula out.
Right.
That would be the easiest thing for them to do. Just make that swap. You can say, oh, it's, you know, a guy that's played here with another American League guy coming up. They're both likely still projects to be viewed. But if you want a guy to really be held accountable, you have to put him in the press box, especially at that developmental stage of Cam York's career. The problem is he had a good year last year, and they don't want to see anybody taking a step backwards. And he's taken a step backwards this year. There's no doubt about that. So, you know, I understand Danny's thinking is I'm not worried about right now because of where the team's at, but we need him to be better so we have him down the road as a more impactful player for our hockey team.
Right.
So what's the mindset? The mindset is try to get this guy back on track as quickly as possible, and the only way to do that, and the only real ammo a coach has, is to put a kid in the press box, and that's exactly what you're seeing right now.
He's about to come up on a contract. I mean, could it be a negotiating tactic playing out before our eyes? I think if you get to like 3-4 games of him sitting, maybe. It's certainly going to be an interesting negotiation. We've been talking about it now for a week or two, that there were teams that were interested in York. They'll probably continue to be interested in York this offseason. There are certain things that you can control, certain things that you can't. They seem to be far apart in negotiations. I think, Ant, you said the other night on this show, that.
Yeah, I'm not going to put the number out there, but it's, believe me when I tell you, it's
Absurd.
ridiculous. Cam York's agent, I'm sure Cam York hasn't personally asked for it, but what his agent has asked for in conversation with the Flyers is it's crazy.
And you're trying.
It's crazy.
So let me play cynic. Can I play cynic?
Yeah.
So if I were the organization, right, and I felt like Cam York, he's making 1.6 this year.
Yeah.
If I thought Cam York was worth $3.5 million, let's say, $3.5 a year,
Yeah.
and Cam York's team, I threw out the goofy number like 8 the other day. I can't imagine. Listen, if they're asking for 8, somebody needs a sanity test, okay? But if that were the number, I'm sitting his ass a bunch of times. I'm building a case. I'm going to arbitration. I'm probably fielding calls around the draft, and I'm considering all options. But there's no reason, if you're about to negotiate, that you want to give him good ammo to go into an arbitration process with. That's if I were a cynical person looking to negotiate. But this is also the organization that just sent Eric Johnson home as a favor, sent Scott Lawton home to Toronto. So I can't imagine they have that in them. They seem like a good-hearted group of people. But I might not be. That's just me.
Yeah. Look, ultimately, what do I think is going to happen is I think he's going to get a bridge deal here.
Yes.
Ultimately. That doesn't mean he can't be traded, but I think that ultimately they'll give him a 2-year contract, kind of like they did with Morgan Frost a couple years ago, if you remember. And basically it will be for more than he's making now, but not anywhere close to what he wants to make. And they're going to say to him, prove it. Prove you deserve that bigger number, and you have 2 years to show us. And if you do, great. Then at the end of that contract, we'll get you.
And they'll be more than happy to pay.
We'll pay you that money. But if you don't,
and you could be moved around.
You might need to find another place to play. And I think that's really kind of what it'll be. And I think that's fair, right? That's a fair way to do it sometimes. If you're not 100% sure on a guy, you think there's something else there, but he hasn't quite gotten there yet, give it a little time. You have him under team control for 3 more seasons before he would become unrestricted. So you give him that 2-year bridge deal where he's still under your control as an RFA after that, and you can then make a decision.
100% correct.
Right?
Yeah, but you can't just go out and give him a long-term deal at this stage of his career because of the way he had performed this year. He wasn't horrible. Don't get me wrong. They wanted to see another jump in his play.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's been bad. It's just that they want to see another level that they believe is there, and he's yet to show that level.
Yeah. And you know what it is for me, Bundy, with him, more than anything. I don't think it's how he plays structurally. I don't think it's the mechanics of his game. I think it's more kind of the personality of his game.
Yeah, his assertion.
Yes.
Yeah, how he asserts himself on the ice.
Yes.
Right? He if you said it, and no disrespect, he looks like he has the persona of a California surfer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And that's okay because there are guys that are more low-key compared to guys that have a little bit more, upswing in their personality. But he looks like a guy that would, ride a surfboard, act cool, be cool about it. But that doesn't always translate. I would love to see more assertion from him.
I know this guy.
Dave Thorpe. There's no idea we're on a live podcast.
Here we are.
That's all right.
We had to disrupt.
Good to see you, my friend.
We had to disrupt the entire show so Ant can, yell to people.
Yeah, it's all good.
Listen, I wasn't a Cam York believer on draft day, and I'm still not a Cam York believer. People can get upset if they want, but baby, I got the receipts to back it up. I even pulled the old tweet from 2019 where I said it was a mistake for them to trade down and still pass up on Caulfield, who, by the way, now has 32 goals. And we can all say what we want to say, and you can go back to the time of that draft. There's the thought that Caulfield might be undersized. But, man,
their thought process was, at the time.
Because remember, they like Krebs, too. They liked Krebs before the Achilles injury.
They did like Peyton Krebs. But their thought process was, at the time, because they were able to have, they thought Bobby Brink would be a similar player to Caulfield. And they felt like they could get Brink in the second round. So why get Caulfield when they can get a defenseman who they liked in that spot? They didn't think York would fall to them in the second round, and then Brink could be the similar player to Caulfield. Brink has turned out to be a solid NHL player and could continue to grow into a bigger role, but he's certainly not Cole Caulfield. as far as the scorer. So that comparison, they missed on that comparison.
And you know who the GM was that drafted Cam York instead of Cole Caulfield?
Be Chuck Fletcher.
That'd be Chuck Fletcher. Where's Chuck Fletcher these days?
Is he in New Jersey?
He's helping in Jersey. I think he's helping in New Jersey. I think he's like
Define helping.
Senior advisor. Don't you know that's what they do in the NHL? They just give people this title, senior advisor.
Senior advisor. What do you do? I advise seniors. What kind of seniors you advising, Chuck?
Yeah. Real quick before we go to intern Andrew's stat of the night. Not needed for AP story because the robot's writing today. But I wanted to ask Bundy his overall take on yesterday and how things went with the 3 trades for the Flyers.
Yeah, I thought Danny had a good day. A lot. He'd been sitting on that one for 2 or 3 years, right? And they held him because they felt his value was worth it. But I think at this point, where Scotty's at, where the team's at, it was the right time to make the move. Even though they got the first-round pick, they got a player back for him. So kudos for what Toronto wanted. They got their guy, and they got their defenseman Brandon Carlo as well in the trade. But for the Flyers, really good move, and they did Scotty Laughton a real solid, getting him back to his hometown. Eric Johnson, same thing, move him back to a place he won the Cup, his hometown also. And you gain a lot of goodwill around the league with other players and agents by making moves like that, because you say, hey, the Flyers are a fair group of people to deal with, and that's certainly something that you can put in the bank. The other trade, Kuzmenko to LA for a 3rd-round pick, I'm fine with that deal. If they weren't going to sign him long-term, there was no point keeping him. If you could acquire another asset for that in the form of a draft pick, great. So I think Danny had a good day again. You gives yourself an opportunity to see some other players again in your minors that you had a sneak peek of, but now you'll be able to give them 19 games to take a look at and do more evaluation. So I think they did a really, really solid job yesterday in everything that they did.
And if you missed it pregame, we did have Danny Brier on, asked him a bunch of questions about the trades, and he gives some really intriguing answers. I think maybe we'll get into that postgame. I want to
for sure.
We'll react.
And
to
I want before we go to intern Andrew, real quick. I just want to thank the regulars in our chat, who you could tell it's been a bit. So, it's been a while since we've had to talk about Chuck Fletcher, and our friends have found reminders.
Redacted.
Chuck redacted. Fletcher Mort. You named the GM that shall not be named. I mean, good on them for remembering all of your.
We should have done a shirt. We probably still could.
Done all your remembering all your stuff.
It's the silhouette of Chuck Fletcher's face, and then like the black bar over the eyes. Right? We could do that. We get away with that. The Only Flyers podcast. All right.
It's time for intern Andrew.
Intern Andrew. He's sipping that water.
It's a good thing that he has water.
He gets waters for people. He doesn't get waters for everybody. Sometimes he gets sent away on special water missions, but none other than intern Andrew is here on the Press Row Show with the stat of the night.
Stat of the day today.
Stat of the day.
It's night in Europe.
Yeah, there you go.
So we talked about
where Sam Harrison's family is playing his 100th game.
That's right. This is 100th game.
That is true.
Over in Sweden. Go ahead.
So we talked about it, I think, a little bit on Thursday, and I believe Tony Louis was the one who was in the comments. It was adamant about us talking about how.
Wait. Who was it?
Tony Louis.
I love that he's put the French accent on Louis. Tony Louis.
Tony Louis.
Cousin of Blue Nui.
Whatever. My mom said it's water. That's true. Yeah, I should have.
And continue.
Antoine Louis.
Go ahead.
Tony Louis.
He was talking about how. So I'll go back. January 7th, Travis Konechny had a 2-goal game against the Maple Leafs. In the 22 games since then, he has 2 goals total.
Yeah.
And has not gotten a goal since returning from the Four Nations break. So hopefully today will be a get right game for him. In his career this is the 8th ever game that the Flyers have played against the Kraken. Konechny has played in all of the previous 7. In those 7, he's gotten at least 1 point in 5 out of the 7, and in total, 3 goals and 4 assists in his career against the Kraken. So he's a career point-per-game player against Seattle. So nothing for him in the first period, but hoping the next 40 minutes maybe you can get something going.
Speaking of the first period, good stat. First period, Owen Tippett gets the goal, right? And he's assisted by Mishkov and Couturier. Apparently, they said on the ESPN broadcast, and again, remember, it's the ESPN broadcast, so take it with a grain of salt. But they said on the ESPN broadcast that since the Four Nations tournament, the highest scoring line in the National Hockey League is Tippett, Couturier, Mishkov.
It's remarkable.
I mean, I don't know that to be true, but that's what they said. Apparently, they said
We're
that.
going to put the intern on that.
That's not an easy one to
no call.
get. But
no call.
No call.
No call.
But
there was a call right at the end of the period. Aren't Seattle starting off
Seattle's
with
going on the power play
power
start.
play?
Yeah. By the way, here's a good. He said Kyle Adams. This is funny, actually. We didn't even say this. Good trivia question. Who did Giovanni Smith fight this year against the Flyers? And the answer is the guy he got traded for, Eric Johnson, who came to the defense of Matvei Mishkov back in November against San Jose when Giovanni Smith was on the Sharks. And Smith was kind of giving Mishkov the business in the face-off circle, and Eric Johnson came to his defense. And we were laughing. Do you remember laughing about that? Like, why is Eric Johnson the guy doing the
Eric
fighting?
Johnson, of all people, was the one out there standing up for young Matvei Mishkov.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway. Minute to go. We made it. We made it through.
Our Hexall87 says Sam Carchidi is already trying to name the line. Tony says they fought and winner got to go to Avalanche. So
There you go.
It was all part of the long game. So, second intermission, we'll be back. Intern Andrew has the trivia time, which we always look forward to. We'll react to whatever happens in the second period. Post-game, I think we'll do a little bit more of a dive into the trade deadline as a whole, Danny's comments from pregame, and there was a really interesting couple of nuggets that he had that we'll break down for the folks on post-game. But, this is the beauty of the internet and the beauty of streaming this show live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. You can always go back and scrub your way to the beginning of the episode, mute the ESPN telecast, and listen to the pregame show. You'll certainly learn more that way.
Yeah.
You'll certainly find more insight that way.
For sure.
Does anybody look forward to the ESPN telecasts?
Never.
What could they do to fix it?
Hire better people.
And on that bombshell, we'll be back. Second intermission here on the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show. Talk to all of you second intermission. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the number 1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, west of the 51st state, Greenland, and south of the 52nd state, Canada. Just when you thought the Rocky Thompson horror show couldn't get any worse, the Flyers concede a shorthanded goal whilst on the power play. 3-1 is now the score. I'm not even going to get into what they need to do differently in the first 5 minutes. We can get there later on in the show. And this was not a second period to write home about if you're the Flyers. In fact, it could have been even worse.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, other than maybe one shift where I thought the Flyers had a really good chance down this end of the ice, the whole period was spent in the Flyers' end. And earlier in the period, it's like Seattle was just missing on opportunities. Like they had good chances and just missing passes, not getting shots on goal. They had a 3-on-1 that they botched. So it was just like, Flyers are lucky. And then right at the end of the period, like boom, boom, they give up 2 quick goals. Neither one that should have. The second goal is completely on. Well, I should say completely. It was a lot of Bundy. You can address it. It was a lot of standing around watching, and then Urson needs to make that save. I mean, you cannot let that goal in. 2 of the 3 previous shifts prior to that goal that Urson let in, the second goal. Yeah. The first goal that Seattle scored was a turnaround. A guy went around the net, came out high, left shot on the right side. He just turned around and shot it to the net, and it was like a seeing eye shot. Yeah, it had eyes. Yeah. So that tied the game at 1. The second goal, though, that was Matty Benier's. He ended up getting the puck. He had it on his backhand on the right side, and I think the Flyers thought that he was going to go behind the net. Instead of going behind the net, he just pulled it to the near side post and just poked it past Urson. I mean, that's a bad goal. That's a goal that has to be stopped. That goal cannot go in. And in the third goal, the Flyers are back on the power play. There's a pass, kind of a soft, loafing pass going up the middle. Nobody picked it up except Chandler Stevenson, who went in the breakaway and just easily beat Urson high over the blocker side to make it 3-1. Seattle dominated that period, and there's no reason they should have dominated that period or held the territorial advantage over the Flyers. Flyers need to buckle down, put the work in the D zone, put the work into the middle of the ice, and get out of this frack that they've been in of playing the kind of games of puck watching. They're doing too much puck watching. And that's a problem, because it doesn't matter who you play. If you're puck watching, you're going to get yourself caught in a lot of trouble, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I'm going to drop some bad numbers here. Listen, you can't win without good goaltending. Sam Ersson in his last 6 games, so if nothing changes, he has allowed 3 or more goals in 5 of those 6 games. That just doesn't get it done. Whether you want to put it on the guys in front of him, if it's just him, we have seen game in and game out over this recent stretch, especially since the Four Nations. He just doesn't look right. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the reason for it is, but he has looked pretty damn bad. Well,
I will say, look, I'm going to just flat out say it. I mean, we've been talking about it all year, that the thing that's going to keep the Flyers from making the playoff push is the fact that they don't have the goaltending that they need overall. I think it's safe to say at this point, and if no one else will say it, I'll be the first to say it. Sam Ersson will be a good backup in the NHL. He's not a number 1 goalie.
Yeah, we've been saying that all year, though.
Right? I mean, but he's just not. I mean, but there was a thought, maybe can he be like a 1A, 1B, kind of one of those.
I hate that 1A because, you know what? With a goalie, you're either a 1 or you're a 2.
Yeah, but I mean, I just, in general today, because they play the backup so much more, could he be almost like that, not quite that's the guy you would go to in the playoffs, but plays enough that he could give you 35 starts, right, a year and still be good. I don't know if he's that. I think he's more of a 2.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's just really what it is, and I think we've learned that this year about Sam Ersson.
There was a time where I was very much on the record that I liked Sam Ersson, the goalie, better than I liked Carter Hart, the goalie, and unfortunately, it seems like since Hart was out of the picture, that's putting it nicely. Since he's been out of the picture and they've had to ride Ersson more, that horse just can't get you.
It exposes the warts, yes, right? So, and we talk about it in baseball all the time. Like, there are guys that are good bench players, and you say, oh, give them more at-bats, give them more at-bats. Well, the more at-bats you give them, you find the hole in the swing, right? And all of a sudden, they don't turn out to be as nearly as exciting as when they only played once or twice a week, and you say, oh, they'll help you out at that point. It's the same thing with a goalie, right? A goalie can be good for a stretch, and he was good since Christmas till up until the new Four Nations tournament. Yeah. He was good. But since the Four Nations tournament, he's not been good. And that's the thing. It's like, and Torts talked about it, saying, I'm going to ride this guy during this 7-game homestand. So far, it's not been a good choice.
It's not. I would have thought that. I would have thought Kolosov. The only question, again, and I don't go at coaches for their goaltending picks because a lot of the time they go on a feel.
Or they go with the goalie coach recommends too.
Right. And the only one I don't get is why wouldn't you have gone with Fedotov against Winnipeg last game?
Yes. After the way he played in Winnipeg.
Absolutely.
And then especially after how the other night played out. I thought that Fedotov could have played tonight. I guess, Bundy, how much do you think a coach puts into Ersson's supposed to be the number one, he's in a slump, and that a veteran coach like Torts says, you know what, I want him to play his way out of it. Is that what is do you think that's why they went back to him again tonight?
Yeah,
or today?
It may have been. It may just be a gut feeling too. I know Torts says I don't pay attention to a lot of the goaltending strategy or the goaltending mindset. He asked his goalie coach to kind of rely upon that, but it's got to be better.
I will say this. He goes to Ersson today. Maybe the message is I'm not trusting him right now because if my options are play Ersson against Seattle or play him against New Jersey, you picked Seattle, and Fedotov's going to start against the Devils tomorrow. You would think. I can't imagine he's going to go back-to-back with Ersson. But, you never know. Maybe I'm wrong. So maybe it is. Maybe he is having that slight transition from, I originally thought this guy would carry the load during this homestand, and now maybe not. Because I'm playing him against Seattle, and he's not having a great game here. And we'll go with Fedotov against the much better New Jersey team.
Now, I will give Ersson a little bit of grace here, and you guys can stop me if I'm wrong. It's not exactly like he has a great team in front of him at all times. This defensive core, if we're fair, Risto is what Risto is, Sanheim is what Sanheim is, Drysdale. We talk about the fact that this defense doesn't have a lot of size. This defense can be very hit or miss. Cam York got pulled from the lineup tonight. Is there any what would be the thing that kind of separates in your mind? He's definitely not a 1 based on what he has playing in front of him versus he's definitely not a 1 if he had a better team in front of him. Is there something that we can identify right now based on what he has in front of him that says he couldn't be a number 1 with a better defensive core?
I think when you watched him play for Sweden in that Four Nations Cup, he performed very well. I think he's a structure goaltender, where he performs as the team performs.
Okay.
That's what I believe. There's other goaltenders. There's 3 different kinds of goaltenders. There's a goaltender that needs a ton of shots to be good, and your team understands that if you see 35 shots, he's better. And then there's a goaltender that plays well with less shots, where you're getting 18, 20 shots against a night, right? Where you got to be focused because you're not getting the 40 shots against.
Yeah.
And then there's the first one that I just mentioned, where you become a systems goalie, where you just kind of perform along with the team. And I think that's what Ersson is. And I do think that he'd be a value of a better hockey team in front of him than the one that's currently on the ice.
And it's okay to be a system goalie. It's just like it's okay to be a game managing quarterback, right? It's not a bad thing. It's just that he's not the kind of goalie who's going to save the team's bacon if they get out of their structure a little bit.
He's not right now, anyway.
Right, at least right now, right? Yeah. And that's the difference between being in my mind between being a number 1 and a number 2. I'm not saying he's not an NHL goalie. I think he is. I just don't think that he's a guy that can carry a team, carry the load for a team. That's where I'm at with him after the last couple of seasons.
I guess it all kind of comes down to for as much as you don't want to start looking ahead to next season, you kind of can. You can get an idea of who might be here, who might not be. If the team is going to be better next year, which we all, I think, agree it likely will be, based on Danny's reaction. Somebody pointed out in the comments when I said, big offseason this coming up.
Yeah.
The look on his face. The team will probably be better next year. So the question is, if you're an organization like this and you know that you want to make the playoffs next year, what goes into the decision of how to approach the goalie situation for next year? Do you think that they've now seen enough over the last 2 years to say Ersson's not the number 1 and they're going to try to go out and find a number 1? Are they going to tread water with Ersson at this point until a Bjarnason or a Zavragan are potentially in play? I can't imagine that they would look to hand this thing over to like a Fedotov-Kolosov duo next year. So, like, where do you think they're at?
That's a great question, Russ, and I don't know if I have an answer to it just yet. In my mind, I got to think that they got to look at it and say, if we're going to be a contender next year, we need to have somebody else that's better than what we have right now. Doesn't mean that they got to go out and sign a big-name goalie, but they have to have somebody that's better than what you have right now. And it could be just for a couple years until you think Bjarnason or Zavragan are NHL caliber, at that level, right? So it could just be somebody that comes in temporarily, but they need somebody else to be here. And that's not a knock on Fedotov, but he's no better than Urson. You need something better than Urson if you're going to be a playoff team. That's it. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. And I don't think Kolosov's anywhere close to ready. So to me, it's go get a goalie. And it's short. I mean, even if it's a short-term situation, even if it's only for 2 to 3 seasons, go get a goalie. But we got to remember, let's take it back to when we talked to Jonesy a year ago. You may remember this, Bundy.
Talking about the Russian goalies, right?
Well, he was talking about Bobrovsky getting a $10 million contract.
Yeah.
And this was before Florida won the Cup. And he would say, even though he's played so well for them, you would think that they're got a little buyer's remorse on the number on the contract because it was so high.
Yeah.
Now, of course, then he went out and won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So it kind of changed the calculus a little bit there. But teams are recognizing now that you can win with a good goalie that doesn't make a lot of money, that maybe isn't a superstar, if you have the structure around them. But you can't win with a goalie that is a backup.
No, not
right.
Not
so
the whole 82 games season.
Right.
No.
So that's, to me, that's kind of what it.
I mean,
there
are 2 very good goalies coming up in this offseason. If you really wanted to get frisky, Jake Ottinger's an RFA. You're probably not going to go that route. Adin Hill, though, would he leave a team like Vegas? Probably not, but depending on the price point, he'll be a UFA. I just, like, based on what you just said and based on what we kind of know about how this front office thinks, seems highly unlikely that their big free agent splash would be a goalie.
At least right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think it will be. But I don't necessarily know. Is Adin Hill a huge free agent splash? I don't know what he's going to get. With the cap going up, I really have no sense of what these contracts are going to look like because they always surprise me in July.
Yeah.
And like, to me, a guy like Adin Hill, somebody might give him some ridiculous contract.
They might.
And you look at it and go, why the hell would you pay that contract?
Right. Is he the goalie that won the Stanley Cup by himself, or was he a product of the team?
Right.
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 That's kind of the
and
question.
I would say he's more of a product of the team.
I mean, look at the guy who won the Stanley Cup with Colorado.
Yeah.
Got a brain cramp right now. I mean, he was a systems guy.
Wasn't it this guy?
It wasn't Grubauer. No, it was the other guy. Then he signed with Washington.
Wasn't it like Fran Coos or something like that?
No.
I can't remember.
We'll find that. Find out the
goalie. Darcy Kemper.
Darcy Kemper.
That's right, Darcy Kemper.
I mean, there you go. Another one, right? Like, you haven't heard of him since.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like.
We got trivia, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I guess we got to get there. Oh, somebody just kicked the light. That's great.
Good.
I love when that happens. All right. Here comes the intern. Here comes intern Cottontail, hopping down the intern trail. Hippity hoppity, intern's on his way.
All right. So Thursday against Calgary was, for the most part, a pretty dreadful game for the Flyers. The one bright spot I would say is that Michkov finally got his 20th goal of the season. We thought he had it the game before. But
Winnipeg, you mean? Winnipeg. You said Calgary.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I lied.
Did that blow up your whole question?
No, it didn't. It has to do with the fact that Michkov has his 20th goal.
Okay.
Which means because Tyson Forster had 20 last year, this is the first time in 30 years that the Flyers have had a rookie score 20-plus goals in back-to-back seasons.
Oh.
The last time it happened was 92-93 and then 93-94. And then in addition to that, in the 05-06 season, the Flyers actually had 2 rookies in the same season that had 20-plus goals.
Matt Reed.
No, not in 05.
Oh,
so can you name those 4 players?
So
Jeff
92
Carter.
Jeff Carter's one, yeah.
Yeah. And in the same year, was it Richards?
No.
RJ Umberger.
It is Umberger.
Oh, very good.
So then you
good.
need 92, 93.
Well, that's the easy one. I think it's Lindros Renberg, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. I'll see you post-game.
Yeah.
Usually we afford him a lot of time, but we didn't need it tonight.
That's not bad.
Well, that was easy.
You know what? That's the intern.
It's an afternoon game.
It's an afternoon game. You just write this one off.
Yeah, that's right. So tomorrow we can write it off too.
It's hard to write questions for Flyers and Kraken.
By the way, I will just point out, intern Andrew, if this holds, will go on a 3-game losing streak in the picks. I don't know.
Did he pick the Flyers today?
He did, and here's the thing. He was up by a lot. Now, I'm not saying that he's about to lose it, but if your prediction holds, you'll be within 2 points of it.
Yeah.
And he had a nice, big, comfortable lead. And we didn't track it the whole year. We haven't been going game in and game out. And he noticed something. He figured out that I'm a dastardly fellow.
Big surprise.
He looked at me and he said, you know, ever since you told me how many points I had and how close and far away it was, he's like, I haven't won a game.
Yeah.
Strategy.
Can I tell you something else?
Go ahead.
Ever since he told you the points, he's picked opposite you.
Yeah.
All I know is with the picks today, I'm in perfect place for my 4-3 pick.
Well, one of them.
I got the 3 from Seattle.
You just need the 3 from the Flyers.
I need 4 from the Flyers.
I had 4-3 Seattle, so I have a shot.
Oh,
there
you got
too.
a shot. Yeah.
I had a shot at that.
No, you had 4-2. Oh, wait, no.
4-3.
I had 4-2.
Yes, I had 4-3 Seattle.
I only need one more Flyers goal. This could happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Yo, a 2-point? That'd be bad for you.
A lot of hockey left. Flyers can come back and win this. A lot of hockey left.
They could come back and win it.
You are to recent Flyers picks as George W. Bush was to that pretzel. And on that, we'll be back post-game here on the Press Row Show. Talk to all of you at the end of this game. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, west of 51st state Greenland, south of the 52nd state Canada. Flyers lose today 4-1. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Everybody have a great rest of your night. Unfortunately, I'm just kidding. We are here. We're going to break this game down.
Yeah.
I mean, what is there to talk about? A 4-1 defeat at the hands of the Kraken.
Just an ugly game.
Just brutal. I mean, and it started with the first goal of the game.
Fans are not happy.
Yeah,
Started with the first goal of the game.
Fans are not happy.
Fans are not happy. These guys are not happy. 15 years of what? That's right.
It's
These
been
guys
longer than
They're
that.
giving Bundy all the credit.
Yeah. That's right.
He's going to be dead in 5 years.
It's gonna be next year. There's always next year.
He's dead soon.
How many minor leaguers do you want in the lineup? How many do you want? How many minor leaguers do you want in the lineup? Oh. You want them to go for You want them to go for the win?
I love this. This is great.
Wait, time out. Did you want them to go for the win today? You want them to win the rest of the year? You're one of the delusional people who are like, yeah, playoffs are still in play. I'm delusional. How am I delusional? Have I waited 15 years? I've been here. Yes. I haven't seen a good Flyers team since he was in like his 5th year in the league. What do you think we're doing? What? Well, they're not tanking. Do you see them tanking? This isn't tanking. Tanking would have been trading Travis Konechny in the offseason. Yes. Get the camera.
Did he just pronounce this guy's name right? Did he pronounce Konechny's name right?
What happened to He looks bad. He looks bad.
A little over serving going on here.
We're putting intern Andrew on camera duty back and forth. He's not playing well. But well, we don't know. It might have. It might have. Let's not be insensitive to the dogs out there. Torts is going to come up and he's going to have a conversation with you. It's not a rebuild all the way down. I don't know what you want. You don't want the kids in the lineup. This isn't a playoff spot.
You know what, Bundy? This is great.
This isn't a playoff team.
Yeah, this is fun.
Last year wasn't a playoff team either.
We don't have to do any work.
Just let Russ take it from here.
What?
We could probably sneak off the show.
You're
right
tired
now,
of it, but you're here.
and no one would notice.
So if you were really that upset,
you and I
if you were
walk
that
off the
upset,
set
you wouldn't
right now.
be here.
Like, it just turn it
You had
back to
fun?
Russ.
Did you have fun today, though? You had fun today, right?
Yeah. I think the passion that you have is great. And I think that next year, the passion that you have is actually going to be rewarded. I'm on record for many years saying, don't go half measures. Chuck Fletcher can kick some stones. Get the thing going. Next year, there's a good chance something not awful happens. And if not, you will hear about it on Snow the Goalie, and I will rip this organization yet again.
I'm just curious.
Russ is on like this little.
I wanted to know,
Russ
Bundy. When did the name of our show change to the Russ Joy Show?
It's not.
Just apparently
engaging. Now. This is more entertaining.
Russ is like hijacked the show. You
back
guys
and forth.
have him. He's all yours.
The back and forth here is better than the effort that we saw on the ice today.
This is true.
That's where we can agree.
This is true. We all agree on that. We all agree on that.
So what is it?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. You loved him. You don't love Torts anymore. We have somebody selling their Torts.
610-592. This is
that
right
one.
now.
That's right. I forgot they changed their number.
This is what this is right now. This is 610-592 right here.
Not 610-632.
Yes. Yeah, that's what this is right now. Yeah, it's good.
All right. We got to get back to the show, but it was good chatting with you.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks, boys.
So,
I appreciate the passion.
We are in the midst. I mean, listen, truly, right? There's passion. The one thing that you got from that is that there is still passion in this fan base, and that guy's insane. right? That like the Flyers should be going for it right now to try to make the playoffs. That's
Well,
insane.
That was something. You saw what he was drinking, right? He had tall boy.
He was drinking
Coke.
some
He might have had-
orange Kool-Aid.
He might have had the beer mixing with the Coke
Yeah, it
at
was.
that point of the game.
I mean, it's the end of the game. I mean, he's been drinking since 11 o'clock this morning.
We don't know that. We don't know that.
I will.
We are not going to imply anything here for legal reasons here on Snow the Goalie. We don't know. That guy might have just been carrying around his friend's beer can.
That's what he was doing. You're right. You're so right, Russell.
We don't know that for sure.
You're so right. I can't believe I didn't notice that. That's my bad.
So that to me though is emblematic of some of what we see among the fan base, and it's wild to me that those people still exist, and I mean that in a loving way. That guy paid money. He said he spends like $1,000 on the Flyer every year.
Have you been on a Flyers fan page on Facebook?
Oh, there's some wild places. But like Bundy, as a former player and as somebody who does care about the team, isn't that the kind of fan you still want? Like I think the guy's nuts, but he's spending money down here to come and watch, and he said he thought they were going to win today.
That's the heart and soul of the fan base right there. He is. Yeah, he loves coming down. He's angry with the team. He's angry about the result and the way the game was played, but he comes down, he spends his money. And if he heard his buddies saying, he goes, this guy loves the Flyers.
Yeah.
Like, loves the Flyers. So that is the kind of fan. I mean, there's a lot of fans like that.
Can I make another assumption?
Also, I apologize for hijacking the show.
Oh, no need to apologize.
I thought that was...
It was entertaining.
Oh, we had
always good.
the Sam Ace Rothstein show.
Yeah. Can I make another assumption?
What?
He was from Delco.
You think he was from Delco?
Yes.
Will he subscribe to the show after this?
No.
I bet he comes back up here at some point between now and the end of the season,
Yeah.
and we have another chat.
Could, maybe.
I'd like to get him before he has some of the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that could be good.
That'd be an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll pop him on the show. Wouldn't have popped him on the show tonight.
Another great atmosphere here today, too.
It was.
Afternoon games are the best, and we expect it to be the same again tomorrow against the Devils. I would assume it'll be the same.
You'll probably get some visiting fans down here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Not quite Ranger-esque, but it will, because there's not that many Devils fans, but they'll be down here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be an earlier start. It's a later start, but it's an earlier start because of daylight savings, which I just found out from you guys is tonight.
It's a good thing. It's
Which
a good
means
thing phones update automatically now.
Because we're
Bundy, right?
losing an hour,
see.
right? We're losing an hour of sleep. That means that we're back together even sooner than normal.
Even sooner tomorrow. Even sooner tomorrow. Oh, man.
I honestly was trying to come up with a positive to come away from with this game, and honestly, it feels like the biggest positive is that it's over. I'm not even trying to be facetious. I don't know.
For you, the biggest positive is your tankathon.
You have to remember.
The Seattle closed within 3 points, I think, of the Flyers now.
I can look. Oh, you know what? Yeah, because we always do the post-game spin.
Yep.
That's a good point, Anthony. I forgot all about that.
See, you're
all
right.
right, let's do the update. Okay. Now remember, I don't want to see the Flyers actively try to lose. We talked about this. You can't do that. But lower the ceiling, lower the floor. Scott Laughton sat out there and they fell apart. I mean, all right. I'm going to pull up Tankathon right now, and let's take a look. So this is the most up-to-date. It's a 4-point gap right now between Seattle and the Flyers. And let's throw it up here on the screen. The Flyers remain 7th best odds of getting the #1 overall pick. Seattle just behind them at 6. We are going to give this beauty a spin, and hopefully we're not going to watch them drop again. All right, let's go. Spin that simulator. Oh, I hit reset. Here we go. Sim it.
Oh!
And they stay at 7. Hey, it's better than falling. All right, well.
Huh? It's all
You know.
good. And so you got #1?
Seattle.
Jesus.
Do it again, Russ. Will it come up the same?
We only do.
No.
We only do. All right, we're going to tempt fates.
You're only supposed to do 1 a game, but that's all right.
Flyers stay at 7,
Yeah.
and Seattle goes up to 2. What is happening? All right, now
Yeah.
anyway, I want to look at this though. To be earnest, so Pittsburgh has already played 1 additional game. Flyers have 4 more points than them. It does look like that little clump though. I still don't think the Flyers are going to fall into like where Nashville is, but this 4 to 9 pack or something could get really, really interesting. We'll come back to that another day.
Yeah,
That's really not the point of the show.
Anaheim's the other team that's kind of in the mix there to surpass the Flyers.
Well, I mean, Boston trading Marchand means that they're
not going to fall that far. They're
no,
still
but
got enough talent.
They could
to
get
stay
in that
ahead.
mix with you though, where if you're going to stay around that 7 spot, 6 spot, they could find their way there. 64 points. They're only 2 points. They only have 2 additional points beyond the Flyers. So, listen, the rest of the season is going to be guys like that who are upset that the Flyers aren't fielding what he considers to be a playoff caliber team. And there are going to be people who are going to
here's the other thing,
for the team to win, and they still lose.
Here's the other team. The Flyers' next 7 games and 8 of their next 9 are against teams that are playoff teams.
Ottawa just won, apparently. I just read that. Brady Tkachuk got the sealed of victory.
Beat the Rangers.
Beat the Rangers.
So their next 7, you got New Jersey, Ottawa, Tampa, Carolina, Tampa again, Washington, Dallas, quick break with Chicago, and then Toronto.
That's a tough road to hoe, right?
It's that murderer's row that we talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't it December or was it January? There was like a good little stretch, and we were kind of going back and forth about the team.
Yeah.
And then we said, but. And it's like March was going to be the thing.
Yep.
I think we were reflecting on the comments of, let the team. It was the Brier press conference, the mid-season one where it was like going to kind of let the players decide, right? Like what happens here. And we're like, but March.
Yeah.
And now we're in the midst of but March.
Yeah, well, this was supposed to be an easy one.
YBM, but March.
I mean, they've lost 3 in a row at home, and 2 of the 3 were supposed to be games that they won.
Yeah, they've lost all 3 by 3 goals.
And though, in fairness, though, they did go out and get that shootout win against Winnipeg. Like, this team doesn't make sense.
No, they don't.
I guess is kind of the point.
Yeah, they're a little bit.
They are, if nothing else, this Flyers team is totally unpredictable.
Well, I don't know
which makes
about
watching them.
I don't know about that.
Infuriating.
I don't know about that now. I think they're going to be a lot more predictable the rest of the way.
Which is good because intern Andrew has guaranteed. We're going to bring him on the screen here. We are in the midst of our pick thing that we do, and intern Andrew has now lost 3 straight games, and he has vowed to only pick the Flyers until they win a game again. And
is this true? You're going to do this?
Because I know as soon as I pick against them, they're going to win, and then that's how you get losing streaks in our standing. So I'm holding firm. I'm picking them until they win.
And I told him
and they're not going to win tomorrow
is a
either, which is
guaranteed
annoying.
way for him to lose that big lead that he had.
Bundy, one of us is winning this thing this year.
Looks like it. Yeah, Tammy.
So the most updated standings are as follows. Intern Andrew still leads the way with 42 points. With a win today, Anthony is second place with 40. Bundy has 39, and I have 36.
Yep.
I don't think I'm coming back and I'm winning for the second year in a row. But I will note that gap has gotten considerably smaller. Between worst to first, it's only 6 points.
Yeah, that's great.
So here we are. Intern, if you so are we locking you in already on your prediction for tomorrow?
I'm picking the Flyers tomorrow.
So you can lock that in right now.
You can lock it in right now.
So do I put the 0 or? So let's look ahead to tomorrow's game really quick.
They've played well against New Jersey this year, though.
They have. They really have.
And there's
played
no
well
Jack
against them.
Hughes.
Right, and you're probably getting Fedotov tomorrow.
Iron Giant. Shirts available.
But I'll tell you what,
shop.goalie.com.
New Jersey just got their rear ends handed to them at home by Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Like, pasted. 6-1, I think was the final. That's going to be an angry Devils team coming into this game tomorrow.
Yeah, and they're going to have to figure out how they're going to play without Jack Hughes. Like, I've seen the Four Nations, I've dropped off of my love for him a little bit.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to figure out how they're going to kind of weave their way through that landscape without him. It's going to be tough.
That's actually maybe the last thing before we head out here. There was the Lindros year where you guys kind of came together as a team, and then he returned in the playoffs.
Right.
And it might have kind of, the team chemistry thing. When you lose a player that is your best player, and Jack Hughes is their best player, what do you do as a team to try to make up for that talent gap? Because you don't have somebody who can just replace him. What do you do?
Everybody's got to be better. That's the mindset. I mean, you can't replace him. You try to fill in a guy that can somewhat maybe perform the way that you're not going to get an identical. It's just not the way it goes. But no, I mean, everybody's got to step up. I mean, and you got to deal with it, and you got to play, and you can't worry about the player that's injured. You can only worry about the 20 players that are dressed with you every single night, and that's it. That's it. You can say, it's too bad for Jack Hughes, but that's the way it goes. There's a lot of injuries around the league that happen.
Yeah. Anything else, Ant?
No.
Intern?
No.
Is this a bit where you hang up on me, right
Nope.
in mid-sentence?
Nope. My hands are right here.
Okay.
On the desk, unlike Ant's. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon. Is it at 12 again?
The game starts at 1.
So we'll be live 12:30.
Yeah.
If you haven't done so already, like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Subscribing on YouTube's great. If you like podcasts better, that's totally fine. We drop the episodes there as well. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts. You can go back and check out Pregame, where we had Danny Brier on. We talked about the trade deadline, and he had some very interesting little nuggets in there. Makes me think that much to that guy's delight from before, Flyers might actually go and try to make a splash this offseason. So if you're waiting you're one of those people, good news could be on the way. We'll find out. But until tomorrow, this has been the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show. We will talk to each and every one of you Sunday afternoon here on the Press Row Show.